South Korea, May 2022. $45 billion gone in the blink of an eye. Do Kwon, the man behind it all who promised it was mathematically impossible to collapse, gets a fake passport and disappears. This is the story of Terra Luna, the fastest wealth destruction in crypto history. Born on September 6, 1991 in Seoul, Do Kwon grew up inside South Korea's pressure cooker school system. He came from a typical middle-class household. His father worked as an engineer and his mother as a teacher. They pushed Do Kwon hard academically and expected him to stay at the top of his class. That mix of pressure and genuine talent carried him into Stanford, where he studied computer science and quickly built a reputation for being sharp and ambitious. Professors described him as confident, but his classmates said he was cocky. You see, even back then, Do Kwon wasn't actually interested in being an engineer. He wanted to build an empire. So, after Stanford, not because he wasn't good enough, but because he thought he was too good, corporate life wasn't for him. Those close to him described him as laser-focused, borderline obsessive, with a dangerous mix of genius and arrogance. He wasn't the type to doubt himself, ever, and that mindset, that unshakable confidence, would become both his superpower and his undoing. Then came Terraform Labs, and with it, his plan to change the world. At first, it sounded like the future, a self-balancing digital currency that didn't need banks, vaults, or governments, just code. The kind of idea that could only come from someone like Do Kwon, a man who believed traditional finance was broken and that he could fix it with math. In 2018, he actually launched Terraform Labs with his friend and co-founder Daniel Shin. Together, they built what Kwon liked to call the beating heart of his new financial world. And his plan, at least the way he sold it, sounded almost disarmingly simple. When Terra slipped below $1, Luna would be burned to push it back up. When Terra climbed too high, more Luna would be created to bring it back down. Together, they introduced two main tokens at the center of their grand experiment: Luna, the volatile asset meant to absorb risk, and Terra USD, the coin Kwon insisted would stay steady no matter what the market threw at it. Terra USD wasn't backed by cash or reserves the way traditional stablecoins were. Instead, it was an algorithmic stablecoin designed to maintain a one-to-one peg with the US dollar, a kind of digital balancing act where Terra USD and Luna constantly adjusted each other's supply and demand to keep that precious $1 value intact. If the system worked, it would look effortless. If it didn't, well, that part of the story comes later. You see, Terra wasn't actually stable. It was a confidence game, one that worked perfectly, until the moment it didn't. The algorithm could balance coins, but it couldn't balance human fear. The second faith in the system slipped, everything, the numbers, the promises, the billions, would come crashing down. Do Kwon didn't care though. He was just riding the hype. But he needed something to keep new money flowing, and he knew exactly what kind of bait would make people bite. That's when he introduced something new, something irresistible: Anchor Protocol. Anchor was a promise: 20% interest on every dollar you deposited in Terra. Not volatile, not risky, not maybe you'll earn it. 20% guaranteed. That number alone broke the internet. In a world where banks barely gave you 1%, Do Kwon was offering 20, no questions asked. He called it the savings account of the future, and the crypto crowd went all in. Money poured in from everywhere: ordinary people, hedge funds, startups, billionaires, even tech workers and students emptied their savings, convinced Terra was the next Bitcoin. For a while, it seemed like they were right. By the end of 2021, token Luna skyrocketed past $100 and was reaching its peak. Terra's ecosystem ballooned beyond $40 billion in market cap. People were buying Teslas, paying off mortgages, quitting their jobs, all thanks to risk-free returns on Anchor. Do Kwon was living like a rock star. He held crypto conferences, chartered private jets, and threw parties in Singapore. He was no longer just a founder. He was the guy who cracked the code of digital money. But behind all that cockiness, there was a secret few dared to admit: the math didn't actually work. That 20% wasn't profit, it was bleeding money. Anchor's payouts came not from real gains, but from a reserve fund fueled by new investors. As long as people kept coming in, the illusion stayed alive. But if they ever stopped, the system would eat itself. Economists warned him, analysts raised alarms. But Do Kwon mocked them all. He called them jealous, clueless, and even poor. But arrogance doesn't stop gravity, and soon that gravity was about to pull the entire crypto world down with him. By April 2022, big investors who had powered Anchor's meteoric rise began pulling out. And then 2 large traders converted over 185 million UST into other stablecoins, triggering a full-blown liquidity crisis. Hundreds of millions vanished almost overnight. Terra's delicate balance, once held together by algorithm and hype, started to wobble. Then came May 7th, Terra USD, the coin meant to be rock solid at $1, slipped to 98 cents, then 95, then spiraled lower. The algorithm kicked in, burning and minting Luna to keep the price stable. But each correction only made things worse. Billions of new tokens flooded the market, diluting value and driving Luna toward oblivion.
One popular token, Terra Luna, lost 99% of its value from a high of $118 to just 9 cents, spooking investors and sending cryptocurrency markets plummeting.
Within a week, what had seemed unstoppable was all gone. Terra USD was worthless. Luna traded for less than a cent. In total, $45 billion evaporated from the market. Social media became a war zone. Twitter erupted with outrage, and small investors watched their life savings vanish in real time. And Do Kwon? He was nowhere to be found. The man had disappeared. The fallout was catastrophic. Hedge fund Three Arrows Capital collapsed. Celsius teetered on the brink, and the entire crypto industry reeled. Regulators and governments smelled opportunity or danger and launched investigations. What they uncovered was damning. Secret transfers between wallets, misleading claims about reserves, and a system far less stable than advertised. Do Kwon, once celebrated as a prophet, had now officially become a fugitive. Interpol issued a red notice, but his whereabouts remained unknown. In less than 1 week, the dream of a crypto revolution had become a global financial nightmare. For months, Do Kwon moved like a ghost. Singapore, Serbia, Europe. Rumors followed him like vultures. But on the 23rd of March 2023, in the airport at Podgorica, Montenegro, the man who claimed to be rewriting money's future was caught.
A cryptocurrency entrepreneur has been arrested in Montenegro.
He was found attempting to board a private jet to Dubai, carrying a Costa Rican passport, a Belgian travel document, and stacks of cash. Montenegro didn't waste any time. By June, he was sentenced to 4 months in prison for falsifying ID. But prison didn't mean freedom from the legal storm. The US wanted him for fraud. South Korea wanted him for criminal violations. Courts, constitutional reviews, and extradition debates dragged on for over a year. Finally, on the 31st of December 2024, the handover happened. FBI agents escorted Do Kwon into US custody. The man who had once been the face of the crypto revolution now faced the full weight of the law. The reckoning began in Manhattan. The charges were brutal: securities fraud, wire fraud, commodities fraud, conspiracy. Multi-count indictments claimed Kwon had misled investors about the very backbone of their system: the algorithms, the reserves, and the supposed decentralization. Prosecutors painted a picture of calculated deception. The collapse of Terra USD and Luna wasn't an accident. It was predictable. The peg failed in May 2022, and Kwon didn't fix it. Instead, he hid the weakness. By August 12, 2025, Kwon pleaded guilty.
Disgraced cryptocurrency mogul Do Kwon has pleaded guilty in the United States to 2 fraud charges. With the plea deal, Kwon is expected to face no more than 12 years in prison.
He admitted to misrepresenting Terra USD's stability mechanism, concealing the fact that a trading firm was used to artificially prop up the peg, and misusing reserve assets meant for stabilization. Under a plea deal, he would face no more than 12 years in prison and agree to forfeit over $19 million. The indictment revealed the full mechanics of the scam. Algorithmic stability was in reality a patchwork of manual interventions. Claims of billions in reserves were misleading at best. Much of the money had been moved or mismanaged. And the decentralized governance? It was a smokescreen. Terraform Labs still controlled everything. The SEC had already sued months earlier for selling unregistered securities and misleading investors about the use and banking of their products. By the time Kwon stood in the US courtroom, the crypto landscape had changed forever. Terra's collapse had shaken investors' confidence, triggered global regulatory crackdowns, and forced banks to rethink digital assets. Do Kwon, who once claimed he could stabilize markets, had created the ultimate cautionary tale. Everyone learned one lesson the hard way. When promises get too big, the fall will be catastrophic. This money-hungry genius from South Korea wanted to reinvent money, but instead, his name got attached to one of the most infamous disasters in crypto history.